What's going on, guys? And today we're going to talk about the first round of the NFL draft. Primarily, what took place was a bunch of teams solidifying their O lines and their D lines, and also getting pieces, especially within their linebacking core, which is primarily what you saw as a deficiency for a lot of teams last year. They either couldn't protect their franchise quarterback, couldn't open up gaps for their running backs to get to, or they couldn't get pressure on the opposing team's quarterback. A lot of teams that had proficient offenses in previous years were suffering from a lack of having a good O line. And a lot of teams that had really good offenses couldn't win games because their defense couldn't stop anybody. So you saw a lot of things that were to be expected, especially in the first round. We all knew that Kyler Murray was probably going to go to Arizona. That was a good fit, especially under Cliff Kingsbury's offense. Having a guy like Kyler Murray works out better than a guy like Josh Rosen. Now, everybody's talking about, now with Arizona, let me say this much. Everybody's talking about the fact that Josh Rosen is going to be traded. There's also another player that's in the news right now that is upset with the Arizona Cardinals by the name of Patrick Peterson. And Patrick Peterson is rumored to also be on the trading block. So look out for Arizona making more moves and possibly landing more draft picks because of Josh Rosen and possibly because of Patrick Peterson. So keep a lookout for that. When you look at 49ers, Nick Bosa, we saw that coming. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of the whole delete tweet things. If that's your political viewpoint and perspective, go ahead, keep it up there. But as far as being a football player is concerned, he's a very good talent. It'll be interesting to see what he's going to be able to do on the next level with all of these guys because, you know, the league, the guys are bigger, stronger, faster, smarter. You were in college, so you were with the best of the best. But the league is the best of the best of the best. And some of them are the greatest, period. So it'll be interesting to see what, you know, a lot of these guys do. I like the Jets pick and Quentin Williams from Alabama, the D lineman. I like it a lot. That was one of the things that Jamal Adams was speaking about was that they needed to get the adequate talent. So you're shoring up that defensive line. You're getting those linebackers that you need. I see them probably going to get another corner. That's something that I could see them probably doing. And then just maybe getting another like receiver or even securing up that O-line some more. But I like the moves that they made. The Raiders. The Raiders. I liked all three of their picks. I liked the DN from Clemson. I liked Jacobs from Alabama. And I liked, it was one more pick that they had that I wrote down here that they got. Okay, so they got Josh Jacobs. They had Colin Farrell, the D end, and Devin Bush. Right? Was it Devin Bush? No, it wasn't Devin Bush. That was just the Steelers. So where was the other pick? I can't find them right now in this long list because I literally went through the draft and wrote every single pick and every person down with their university with it, but I have them all bunched together and I can't find it, but it'll come to me in a minute while I'm looking. But I like what the Oakland Raiders did, because what the Oakland Raiders did is that they understood that when Derek Carr had the adequate weapons that he needed, he was an MVP. He was in MVP talks. So if you get a quarterback the talent that they need, along with the offense and the defense to go along with it, having a good defense allows the offense to run more effectively and to produce more points because they have more opportunities. Because when you have a good defense, it takes the other team off of the field. I like adding the run game because you always need to have a solid run game. I don't care how many top-tier receivers you have. You need a run game because they have to respect it. That's the only way that your top players are going to be able to get open. For example, Antonio Brown had the luxury of having Le'Veon Bell and vice versa. So the Steelers are going to be interesting to see how they do with, you know, the whole no Antonio Brown, no Le'Veon Bell. James Conner is coming into his second year as a starter, and now a lot of these teams have a plethora of film on him and they know how he plays, and there is no Antonio Brown on the other side of Juju Smith-Schuster to double team. So in my opinion, if I was playing a team like the Steelers, what I would do is I would take my number 2 corner, put him on Juju Smith-Schuster with the safety over the top, take my number 1 corner, put him over the number 2 guy, and crowd the box and say, beat me. Beat me. Because they have the linebackers that can keep up with any tight end almost in the league, especially adding, like I said earlier from my mess up, Devin Bush. So beat me. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Steelers are actually able to do. I think that's why they're trying to solidify more of the defense, because they're going to need to be able to create points on the defensive side of the ball. And in addition to that, they're also going to need to be able to try to minimize the opportunities that the opposing team has to put points on the board, especially with the team that they have coming in. I think people really have high hopes for them. But if you actually pay attention to what they have going on, you understand their ceiling is only so high. So that's going to be interesting. The Jags getting Josh Allen, I felt was a good pick, especially they've lost Malik Jackson. They've lost Dante Fowler. They're going to need some other picks too, because they lost Gibson, their safety. I mean, I know they have Ronnie Harrison, but I don't know how that's going to work out. He's more of like a nickel to me personally. They have some pieces, especially on the defense. And even on the offensive end, in the receiving core, they got to fix that. I don't care what nobody says. Leonard Fournette is going to continue to have a hard time with that receiving core full of, in my personal opinion, I'm sorry to say it, backups and backups to backups. Like, you can't have that receiving core and expect anybody to go ahead and be intimidated by that and expect them to, respect it. They're not. They're just going to crowd the box. And I don't care if they got Nick Foles or not, and they're going to say beat them. And with them receivers, they'll make a miraculous catch in the first quarter and then won't make another catch for the next 5 games. And you sitting there like, come on, this is ridiculous. Why am I even watching this game? But that's my hometown, so, I'll definitely check in on them. But they got a lot of work to do. The Lions getting a tight end in addition to already having a tight end. Well, I don't think they really had a tight end. I think they had a tight end. I'm not keen, and this is just me. This is why I didn't really pay attention to it. I'm not keen on getting tight ends in the first round. I think the league is going away from the pass-catching tight end. I think that they're just doing this to kind of solidify that line. But me personally, I wouldn't take a tight end in the first round because of the simple fact that linebackers are getting smaller, but they're getting faster. And a lot of these tight ends, especially the Legion of Boom, brought in the era of literally just annihilating tight ends. If you look at the trend that has happened since the Legion of Boom came around, when you look at, they're literally responsible for shortening Rob Gronkowski's career. And in addition to that, a plethora of other tight ends. Like, tight ends now are getting lit up. There are very few tight ends. Like, Travis Kelce was dominating the league for years. But when you look at Travis Kelce now, like, he'll have spurts of having touchdowns, but it's not consistent as it's been in previous years. I just wouldn't take a tight end in the first round. To me, tight ends are like second and after rounds. First round, you're going with the prototypical way to build a team is from the inside out. You go offensive line, defensive line, you go quarterback, you go linebackers, you go running backs, you go DBs, you go DBs, and then you go receivers. You never ever. I just can't see them. I just can't do tight ends. Ed Oliver going to Buffalo. Buffalo is another team that's gonna get another good player. I'm always struggling with Buffalo because it looks like they'll get a good guy and then they don't really build upon it. It's kind of like they're in that slow, meticulous drip process of building. And oftentimes that's not necessarily a good thing because the players that you get that are good, they get worn thin and they're going to get tired of losing and they're not going to want to stay no matter what you pay them. Like, it just, case in point, Joe Hayden has lost a lot of his productive years when he was in Cleveland when they were losing. And now he's with the Steelers, and he's like, man, I got a good thing going. And then all the top players are leaving. Right? So he doesn't know how much longer he's going to get Big Ben, even though they signed him for an extension, which I don't understand why, because he could still just up and retire. You got James Conner, but then, you came in, Ryan Shazier was hurt. You know Antonio Brown, no Le'Veon Bell. It's literally like they're halfway into the rebuilding process. They literally got 1 foot in the door and 1 foot out the door. But adding Devin Bush to the Steelers is a good thing. Ed Oliver, like I said, Houston. You go through Cincinnati. They got a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. Sometimes I feel sorry for AJ Green. The Packers with a D end. They need receivers. They need secondary pieces. They need linebackers because they don't have Clay Matthews anymore. They need a lot of stuff. So getting a D end, obviously, I guess you're trying to get that edge rush now that you don't have Clay Matthews or whoever. So I get it. The Atlanta Falcons, a team that's near and dear to my heart outside of the Jets because that's who my brother played for, outside of Jacksonville because that's where I was born. But Atlanta is, my heart. I grew up there, spent 18 years of my life, get ready to move back. Them securing the O-line. This is what people don't understand. People are always like, if you read the comments underneath, like, Atlanta Falcons, like, social media accounts and things of that nature, they're always talking about, oh, well, people didn't understand and we weren't able to do this because we didn't have a solidified line. Stop. The majority of the entire Atlanta Falcons the whole middle of the team was hurt. Their offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, and secondary, literally up and down, even their running backs. Devontae Freeman was hurt. They had their center and I think a guard or 2 guards that was hurt. They had multiple D linemen that got hurt. Their linebackers are gone. Both safeties were out. So it wasn't like they didn't have they have a ton of linemen. They have a ton of offensive and defensive linemen. It's just, I get it. Like, I really get it. You paid Matt Ryan all that money, and you want to make sure he's going to be upright, and you're getting back Devontae Freeman. You probably got to go out and get another running back because, in my opinion, Ito Smith ain't the answer. Sorry. And in my opinion, too, you got to get another. You don't have a cornerback. You got rid of Alford. So you got to get another cornerback because Oliver, the cornerback that you guys drafted, he didn't pan out. He was getting honey nut roasted and toasted all last year. So he's a no-go. Ricardo Allen, I know you love him, especially considering the fact that the head coach used to be at Seattle, and the whole reminiscent of Earl Thomas that you feel with him. He's not the answer. He's one of the most penalized guys in the entire secondary. He's either going to give you a really big hit, you're just going to see him flying across the screen, or he's going to get you a penalty. That's it. And most of the picks that he has is primarily like most guys get picks that aren't, you know what I'm saying? It's either an underthrown ball or an overthrown ball. That's it. He ain't reading no plays excellent and picking them off. When you look at him, no, he's not the answer. You need another safety. You need another corner, and you need somebody to play alongside Deion Jones. Because I know you guys got Duke Riley, but Duke Riley ain't it. And then you got Campbell, who you transitioned from safety to linebacker. You need linebackers, and you need guys in the secondary. This whole O-line situation, bruh, you could have picked up a couple guys in free agency and called it a day with that. Or you could have picked some guys up later on. It might pan out, but I feel like it's not because I feel like your defense is still going to be suffering. And that's just not the move to make. So I'm not with that. Now, let's talk about Dwayne Haskins going to Washington and being drafted after, where is he at? Where is this guy at? The New York Giants drafting Daniel Jones from Duke, who was 7th in his division with a grade 0 as a recruit. coming out of high school. And then they had the audacity during the draft to say that he's in a very athletic family because his sister plays field hockey. And then the general manager of the Giants said that he knew he had the quarterback he was looking for because of 3 possessions he saw him have at the Senior Bowl. Really? With the numbers that he put up, there's no reason why he should have been drafted before Dwayne Haskins, let alone quite a few other guys that's in the draft that's quarterbacks. He shouldn't have been drafted before them either. In all honesty, he's a late second, early third round draft pick, in my opinion, not a first round draft pick, especially not with that receiving core that you got in New York. And you talking about, oh, he's going to learn under Eli. Learn what? What is he going to learn? What is he going to learn? What? With who? He ain't got no receivers. What he going to learn? He going to learn how to throw good passes? The reason why Eli Manning has so many miraculous or miracle catches is because they're bad passes. They're not that good. Eli Manning, he might be able to teach him how to operate off the field. He might be able to teach him a few mechanic issues, but there's also decision making. And outright, statistically speaking, he ain't that good. And even if he turns out to be really great, he's still, based on where he's at right now, should not have been drafted before Dwayne Haskins. If you darken Daniel Jones' skin complexion, he's not going that high in the draft. Period. It ain't debatable. And I hate to bring up race, but bruh is not the answer. When's the last time you heard about a good quarterback coming from Duke and being successful in the league? I'll wait. If you know him, put him in the comment section, and we'll go through his statistics and not make a video about it. Duke. Exactly. No. I answered for you. The answer is no. That was awful. That was God awful what they did. That was bad. That was just bad. When I saw the pick, I said, oh, fools. They're just fools. They're idiots. They're idiots. You mean to tell me you got rid of Odell Beckham Jr., Landon Collins, and a plethora and some other guys so you can get Daniel Jones from Duke? Okay. All right. Good luck with that. All right. Notable other picks, in my opinion, because this is a whole lot of... I want to talk about Marquise Brown, Baltimore. Marquise Brown is a unique talent, but I think that the Tyreek Hills of the league and the Brandon Cooks of the league and other smaller receivers, who he's actually smaller than, have created a trend of front offices trying to find the next one of those guys. And the Ravens, especially doing something that they don't do, they drafted Marquise Brown. In my opinion, Marquise Brown is going to have difficulty because he's a fast body catcher who's not even 5'10". I didn't think he's 5'9". I think he's like 5'8" or something. And he's like a $165. So he's 10 pounds smaller than me right now. Like, that's gonna be difficult for him, primarily because they don't have the receiving core necessary to put him in the best position to succeed. He's not a number one, like, in my opinion, he's not one of those guys you build your franchise around. He's a guy that you add. To me, he's really a slot receiver. He's a slot. You need somebody else on the outsides of him to help him in that process. Especially having the quarterback that you have and the running back that you have. The Ravens really needed to get a bigger body a fast, bigger body that could be on the outside that could help Lamar Jackson so that when he throws, because Lamar is still working on his mechanics issues and judgments. So you need that guy that's going to be on the outside that when you throw that ball, when you throw it up there, he needs to have, that receiver needs to have a large radius to be able to go get it, to help mask or to help work on some of the issues that your quarterback has. Your receiving core at this point right now is not going to make it easy on Mark Ingram. It's just not. That's the reason why you have the defense that you have. People were concerned about C.J. Mosley leaving. They have a linebacker who's right behind him. I can't think of his name at this time, but based on the highlights that I saw, he's good. They're going to do fine in that department. And then adding the eraser that's rocking Jordans and that's a dynamite by the name of Earl Thomas that's in that backfield is going to help out tremendously for that defense. Tremendously for that defense. But offensively, they're going to have to find a way to put points on the board, and it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to do it. I don't think he should have been picked over N'Keal Harris, but the Patriots seized on that opportunity. I feel like the three guys that were underneath him that, were ranked as the top 4 or 5 receivers, I think he should have been ranked farther back, and I think those guys should have been ranked ahead of him. Reason being is because he's a smaller guy, and he's not a hands catcher. That's one of the hardest things. For example, John Ross. I know everybody's talking about he's been injured, this, that, and the third. But John Ross is having issues because he's really fast, but he's not a hands catcher. He's a body catcher. And in the league, you can't be a body catcher because the guys on the defense, especially in the secondary, they're becoming more technically sound, and they're able to get their hands on you and knock that ball away, especially when you're worried about keeping it here. When those DBs wrap around and they stick that hand out there, it's going to be difficult. You don't want that. You want a guy who's going to go up and get the ball. That's the one thing, especially when I play ball, my coach used to always tell me. He says, you never want the ball to come to you. You always want to go to the ball. You want to attack the ball. You want to go get it. You don't want to do this. For example, if you go back and if you recorded the draft, or you can go on YouTube and look at his highlights, look at his draft highlights. Every single highlight they showed of him was him body catching. All of them. So you mean to tell me he's a smaller guy who body catches? And everybody's like, oh, well, he's fast. He's going to blow past people. There's not a single receiver in the game of football today that will survive past halftime running nothing but go routes, double moves down, and post all the way down the field. They will burn themselves out before the quarter's out. You just will. You just will. You're already going 110 miles an hour down the field. Then you want to go 110 miles an hour, 60, 70, 80 yards every single possession? He ain't going to do it. Especially him being a body catcher and being a smaller guy. They're going to move him in the slot, and he's going to be doing a lot of quick to intermediate routes. And occasionally they're going to move him farther out. They're going to drop him farther back. So he's not going to play on the line. He's primarily going to play farther back because he's smaller, to give him that extra yardage to build up that speed to just blow past DBs who are going to, because he's so far back, have to sit and be patient. And they're going to have to sit. And when they sit, that allows him to blow past. That's why if you look at a lot of his Oklahoma footage, you see a lot of receivers, you see him playing off the line a lot, and you see a lot of receivers in front of him to give him that extra footage. It was something that, not extra footage, but extra yardage. That's something that they did to try to help him out a lot. But I think that the Giants, they did what they were supposed to do in getting DeAndre Baker. I know, obviously, the corner on the other side wasn't necessarily, I don't know how he feels about it, because he's been trying to get Patrick Peterson. Janoris Jenkins has been trying to get Patrick Peterson over social media, if you've been paying attention, to come on over to the Giants. I don't see that happening. I think that wherever Patrick Peterson goes, if he's traded or if he's okay with that trade, is going to be to a contender. Because I think that now it's not just about the money, even though that's one of the issues that he's having with Arizona right now. It's also about solidifying his legacy. You're talking about a guy who was one of the least thrown to corners in the league. Matter of fact, last year, he was the least thrown to corner in the league. On average, I think he has 2 pass attempts going his way every 2 to 3 games. That's ridiculous. So, which is also a thing that I want to talk about when people look at statistics. Don't necessarily always grade, especially a DB, based on how many pass breakups they have and how many interceptions. Because remember, the more pass breakups and more interceptions you have, that means the more that opposing team is trying you, which means they don't respect you. When you have guys who you need to look at how many times they actually throw in his way. That's what you need to look at before you even start getting into all the other details of interceptions and that nature, and things of that nature, is you need to look at how many times they're trying them. Because if they ain't trying them like that, that shows how much respect they have from him. And that also shows you that whoever he's going up against, he's taking them out of the game. All right? But primarily, a lot of these picks were, what we thought, except for that Daniel Jones pick. Like, he literally said after 3 possessions, offensive possessions at the Senior Bowl, the GM said that that's when he knew he had the franchise quarterback he was looking for. He was rated 7th in his division. 7th. But here's the kicker. The reason why, one of the things I want to talk about, the reason why they're talking about the Eli Manning connection is because they've had the same coach. I don't know if it's a QB's coach that they've had, but they've had the same exact QB coach or trainer that these two have been connected with. So Eli, Daniel Jones, that whole connection kind of helped him get that pick. But like I said, if he was anybody, man, he shouldn't have been drafted that high. It's that simple. I'm interested to see what night 2 holds. The Falcons need to do better. The Packers and the Jags really got some work to do, including the Giants. The Carolina Panthers, I like their outside linebacker pick from FSU. And then Denver, they got a tight end too. But yeah, for the most part, it went kind of as expected. I'm ready to see some of these running backs, receivers, DBs, and other linebackers go off the field. Mack Wilson's still on the table. I think Atlanta Falcons need to get Mack Wilson, team him up with Deion Jones. That's just my personal opinion. But like I said, and also there's some other guys from Clemson too that are still on the board. In addition to, I believe, Georgia has a few guys out there. So it'll be interesting to see. So stay tuned. Obviously, I'm gonna try to do each round. Matter of fact, I'm probably just gonna go to the 3rd round, and then we'll have another video where we just pick out any guys that are in the rounds after that do really well. And then also, if you guys don't know, Patrick Mahomes is now the new cover boy for Madden. Hopefully, Madden curse don't exist when it comes to him. It's really interesting to see that they gave him the Madden cover as quickly as they did. I mean, think about how long it took Antonio Brown. Think about the fact that Cam Newton's never been on the cover of Madden. I mean, look at some guys. Julio Jones. There's a lot of guys who've never been on the cover of Madden, so it's very interesting that I think they're just riding the popularity train at the moment. Because he's done his thing, so I'm not mad at it. I'm just saying that's really quick that's really quick for Madden, but it's cool. So I'm looking forward to that as well. But like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to try to push out as much content as I possibly can with the time that I have. I'm going to try to be as consistent as possible. So bear with me. Videos will get better. Editing will get better. All these things will get better as I'm growing. But, hey, it's a start. But like I said, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me, do you think that your team did the right thing in the first round of the NFL draft? Tell me what you feel your team needs in the comment section, and we'll probably make some videos and we'll go over those things. All right? Talk to you next time. Peace.